In this video, we'll be looking at the top 3 first round draft picks of all time. The result is actually a lot more surprising than you would think. Let's start the video. Have you ever wondered if it matters what draft position your team is in and if it impacts their ability to get a good player? Justin Herbert, for example, without a doubt the best quarterback from this draft class so far. He was drafted 6th overall, which just happens to be the 4th best draft pick of all time. But if he was drafted 1 pick later, he would have been picked with the 10th best draft pick of all time. So, is there a chance that where a player lands in the draft affects how they turn out? Well, I found some answers to that after hours and hours of research. I was able to rank each draft pick from worst to best. Now before we start, I need to explain how I came up with these rankings. I first started out with the 1966 NFL draft and went through every single draft all the way to present time. Then after going through every single draft, I sorted out each player in 6 categories: Hall of Fame, All-Pro, Pro Bowl, Hit, Miss, and Bust. Hall of Fame, All-Pro, and Pro Bowl are self-explanatory. If a player earned those awards, then they are in that category. For the other 3, it is a bit more specific. In order for a player to be a hit, they have had to be a starter in the NFL for 6+ years. If a player is a miss, then they were only a starter in the league for 3 to 5 years. Finally, if a player was a bust, then they were only a starter for 2 or less years. So after giving each player a category, I separated them by which draft pick they were. Then after that, I sorted each individual draft pick by the categories, which after that, I was able to start ranking the overall draft picks. For me to give a fair ranking, I took the number of each category and divided it by the total numbers of players picked for that draft pick. Then I took the percentages and ranked each overall draft pick by category. Finally, I took the average of each ranking and used that as the final number to rank each overall draft pick. Alright, now that we understand how I got the results, I'm going to spend the next 60 seconds showing some interesting stuff I found by doing this research. The best first round draft class of all time is the draft of 1983. In that year, it was more likely for a team to draft a Hall of Famer than a player who ended up being a bust, which is absolutely insane. The worst first round draft pick of all time would probably be the 2009 draft class. The best part about this first round was the Blindside man himself, Michael Oher, one of the best sports movies, but unfortunately he was drafted in a pretty rough first round. Along with that, I averaged out how many of each category were drafted in the first round. Every year, there is about 1.5 Hall of Famers drafted. The draft pick that produced the most offensive rookie of the years is actually the first overall pick. The first round draft pick that produced the most defensive rookie of the years is the 2nd overall pick. Alright, now it's time for the rankings for each draft pick, started with the 3rd best draft pick of all time. Before we do that, to put into perspective what a decent draft pick is in the rankings, let's look at the average. The 16th best draft pick of all time is the 31st overall pick. Of the players selected, there has yet to be a Hall of Famer picked, but there is a 22% chance of becoming an All-Pro. Here's where it ranks in each category. Now, moving on to the top 3 draft picks of all time. The 3rd best draft pick of all time is the 2nd overall draft pick. It has produced the best defensive player of all time, along with some other really great players. With this draft pick, there is a 73% chance to draft a player that is a hit, and a 13% chance to draft a Hall of Famer. Along with that, this draft pick has had the most amount of All-Pro players with 19. Now, for the 2nd best draft pick of all time, the 1st overall pick. Surprisingly enough, the 1st pick in the draft is not the best draft pick of all time, but the 1st overall pick holds the spot for the most Pro Bowlers drafted with 37. Along with that, it had the highest chance of a player becoming a hit. Adding even more on top of that, there is an 18% chance to draft a Hall of Famer. Although, if the 1st overall draft pick is not enough for the best of all time, what could possibly be? Alright, before I tell you the best draft pick of all time, I want to tell you the very worst. The 22nd overall pick. There is yet to be a Hall of Famer drafted with this pick. The only player that has the best chance of getting in is Justin Jefferson, and he was drafted last year. That is how bad this draft pick is. There's only a 6% chance of becoming an All-Pro with this draft pick, and a 31% chance of becoming a bust. This draft pick is so bad. Now for the best draft pick of all time, the 4th overall pick. Surprisingly enough, the 4th overall pick is responsible for the most Hall of Famers. Along with that, it not only has the most Hall of Famers, but also the least amount of busts. Players like Walter Payton, Mean Joe Green, and Charles Woodson highlights the pack. So, the 4th overall draft pick is the best of all time, and I charted each draft pick to show where they ranked. They all followed a pretty similar pattern, although there are some pretty clear outliers. The 31st overall pick ranked a lot higher than what the trend is supposed to be. And of course, the 22nd overall pick ranks a lot lower than what it is supposed to be. All this research definitely proves the importance of a high draft pick. Those spots resulted in the best odds to get a franchise player. Although the late first round draft picks don't really matter all that much, which I think teams have figured out. The Rams, for example, are trading away all of their late first round draft picks, while the Dolphins are creating an early first round draft picks collection. It is shocking how each draft pick ended up ranking, and congrats to Falcon fans for having the best draft pick of all time. And sorry to Titans fans who have the worst draft pick of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe while you are down there. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.